Hello and welcome to this quick guide on oblique drawing. We're going to look at drawing some primitive forms, a cube, a cylinder and a cone. When you're drawing at home, you will want to use a pencil to mark your lines down first and then come back over them with a black pen. Instead of a pencil today, I'm using a red pen just because it jumps out more from the page. It's easier to see via the video. Okay, so some basic principles of oblique drawing. Number one, we draw a face of the object we're looking at. So I'm going to start with a cube. So if I'm drawing a cube, I'm just going to draw a square like that. You might notice I'm slightly overlapping my lines in the corner. That way we know exactly where the corner is. If we draw the lines and they don't quite touch, there isn't a clue for our eyes to tell us exactly where that corner should be. Our second step is to draw lines at 45 degrees to show us where the other faces would be. So again, I'm going to put this face in at the front. And then I'm going to draw my lines at 45 degrees coming back from the corners. And hopefully as I do this, you can start to see this cube emerging. Just a note on 45 degrees, it can be hard to do by eye, but if you remember that a right angle is 90 degrees, so when we take a line back, we want it to be halfway between horizontal and vertical. And then that angle and that angle there are both equal and they're both 45 degrees. Just noticed I put a 2, I should have put a 3. Our third step is then to draw in the back edges. So bear with me, I'll put my face back in again. Project my lines back at 45 degrees. And then I draw in the back edges, making sure that my lines join up. And there you go, you've got a cube. You can see down here I've got a very long line. It doesn't matter, you've still got that cube there. Remember I was using a red pen to represent a pencil. Once I had all the lines in place, I'd grab my black pen and I'd come over and carefully put in exactly where I want those lines to be. And you can see I'm working in that same order again. I'm drawing the face in, projecting the lines back at 45 degrees, and then drawing in the back edges. And there you go, we've got a cube. Now, just a note on oblique drawing. Often, if we were doing it in school, we would have graph paper that we would work on. And this helps us get our 45 degree angle. So I'll do my cube again very quickly on here so you can see how that would work. So I start drawing that front face again. I can then use these cubes to make sure that my lines are going at exactly 45 degrees. So drawing through the corners of all the squares on the paper, I know they're all exactly 45 degrees, and then I draw in that back edge. We have for today's lesson uploaded a copy of the graph paper. So if you have got access to a printer at home, you can print that out to help you if you feel that you need it. But as you can see from what's in front of you, we can do oblique drawing without the need for graph paper. Right, let's have a look at our 3 forms that we're going to draw. So I've done a cube, I'm going to do a cube again. And I'm going to jump back to my red pen that's representing my pencil. I'm going to draw that face in again. I'm going to project my lines back at 45 degrees. and then I'm going to draw in the back edges. Having done that, I pick up my black pen. I now know where my line should be. I want to make them definite, bold, really pop out from the page. So I come back over, I draw over that face. And fill in the rest of the lines. So that was our cube. Let's have a look at a cylinder. So the cube was probably the simplest thing to do. The cylinder, we're going to want another box to put this in. I'm going to make this one a bit taller. I think it'll help with seeing what we're going on. So we're going to have quite a tall cylinder. And I'm drawing the outline of the face that would fit into. I'm then going to project the lines back the same as we did last time. What I am going to do different this time though is I'm going to put this corner in as well. So I'm drawing parts of the shape that we wouldn't actually be able to see in real life, but it helps me to construct the right lines I know for that I need for my cylinder. I then draw in the back edges, and I end up with a nice tall box. I'm also going to put in this back line here just so you can see what's going on. So we've got the face at the front, and then we've got bits that would be hidden normally. What we can now do is we can use this, what should be a square, it would be a square if you're looking at it straight on, to work out what shape our circle would be. So we know that the circle is going to touch the square at the middle of each of these edges. So I'm just marking those edges on there, and then this can be a bit tricky, takes a bit of practice, but I'm going to try and make sure I get a nice representation of a circle. It's actually an oval on your page, but it's representing a circle the way that we're drawing it in 3D. So now I have a top and a bottom. Where the line comes off, we call it a tangent. So a tangent, where you've got a curve like this, a line that's at a tangent to it comes off of it nice and fluidly and smoothly. So this is a tangent, and this is a tangent to this curve here. I'm going to do the same with the top of my cylinder here. I'm going to look for somewhere where I can come off and get a nice vertical line coming down, and I'm going to join that onto the circle at the bottom. I'm going to do the same on this side. And hopefully you can see that circle in there. There's quite a lot of lines going on. We've added a lot of extra detail in to construct our cylinder. What we can do now is then go back with our black pen and pick out exactly which lines we want to be prominent, which ones we want to see, what we want to see jump out from the page. So I know I'm only going to see that part of the base. I'm going to see all of this side here, and I'm going to see all of this side here, and then I see all of the top as well. So having done that, we end up with a cylinder. Our last shape that we were going to look at was a cone. And this is a bit similar to the cylinder, same at the bottom, different at the top. So I start exactly the same way. I draw in the front face of the box that my cone is going to fit inside. I project my lines back. And then I put in the back edge. I am also this time, again, going to put in the base here, and I'm going to draw the last part of the box that we would see. So a cone is exactly the same as a cylinder on the bottom. It's got a circular base. So I'm going to mark the midpoints of that square I'm fitting it into, and by eye work out what that circle would look like. Now the top of a cone is completely different to a cylinder. We want to know the point that everything is coming to. Now we can find, and that point is going to be in the center of this square that is up here. We can find that by putting in the diagonal lines of what would be a square, and we know this point here is the dead center of that square. So having got that point, I can bring a line down from that to meet the edge of the circle down below. And You can probably see I'm just practicing making sure I've got that line about right before I commit to drawing it. And I can do the same, I'm slightly off there, do the same on this side. And we've got a lot of lines again. Let's use our black pen to pick out the ones that we want people to see. So we're seeing this part of the base, and then we're seeing two edges. So very simply, we've got a cube, a cylinder, and a cone. I'm just going to briefly talk you through a technique that we call crating. So we can take these primitive forms and join them together to make other shapes. So let's get a blank piece of paper. And this I'm calling crating. So from those simple shapes, we could have a go at drawing let's say we're going to draw a bottle. So I'm going to do a simple bottle. I'm going to start with a cylinder. I'm going to put a cone on the top of it. And then I'm going to cut the top of the cone off and have another cylinder coming off the top to make that look as though it's the neck of the bottle, the part where you'd put the lid onto. So let's start down the bottom. Let's get a relatively tall, thin box. Drawing the face, bringing lines back at 45 degrees. Putting in the back edges. So I've got a box. I want this to be a cylinder. Most bottles are round. So I'm going to draw in the bits that I can't see. I'm going to mark the midway points of the top and the base, and I'm going to put my circles into those. So we've got, well, if I put the sides into our cylinder, we've got the start of our cylinder. This box, the sort of box that's right around the outside, we want this a bit taller because we're now going to put a cone on the top. So I'm going to carry on these lines a bit further. A bit further still, and a bit further. We will draw in I've gone slightly adrift there, but don't worry too much. I've now got a box that I can put my cone into. For the cone, we wanted the center point of this square at the top. So I'm going to put the diagonal lines in to find that again. Here's the point that is the top. I'm going to bring lines from the edges back to that point. I'm going slightly adrift. I'm sketching. I'm not worrying too much about it. Now, what we do know about a cone, what we know about a bottle is it doesn't just come to a point like that. We're going to cut the top off of this cone, and then we're going to bring a cylinder up. This bit we're going to do just by eye. So that's where we're going to stop the cone. And we're going to put a little cylinder on the top of it. And we're going to have a little circle to represent the top of that. Loads of lines going on there. Let's pick out the ones that we want now with our black pen. So we're going to end up with our finished bottle. We've got this line at the base here that we're going to see. We can see the sides here. But at this point here, the sides change and they start slanting in to come and meet the neck of the bottle at the top. So this is, we're using our cone to give us that part there. And then we just want our little cylinder on the top to represent where with the neck where we put the cap on. So hopefully there you can see, if you can recognize the shapes in objects, you can then start to construct those on your paper. And it's actually a very useful technique to be able to look at an object and see the primitive forms that are within it. So I hope that is useful and you're equipped to do some basic oblique drawing now. Okay, bye.